Good evening and welcome, ladies. Hello, Jessica. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm so sorry about the time zones with
I
this whole.
complete Not your fault. I completely forgot about it. So thank you for letting me know.
That's all right. No, it's like it's all juxtaposed. Like with the clocks and daylight savings ending. I think in some time zones, I think in Arizona, it's still 7 p.m. So anyway, there's been much confusion this week with everybody. So welcome, honey. How's your week been?
Thank you.
How's your week been?
It's been good. Had some anxiety yesterday and this morning. It seems to always happen in the morning, but I'm sure it probably has a lot to do with what was happening yesterday with the election and everything. So,
Yeah, cortisol. Like I really think, when you get that anxiety in the morning, some lemon balm tea. It's really good. Beautiful.
okay.
Yeah, give that a go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Simone, do you want to say hello to me? Hello.
Hi. Oh, I'm in the kitchen.
That's okay. Can we see your face just
Okay.
briefly? I feed off
Uh,
I feed off your faces. There we go. Hello, my beauty. Where are you joining us from?
mm, I'm in New York.
How are you feeling?
Mhm. I'm all right.
Beautiful. I love New York. I've only really been to a few cities in the States, but I'm a New York kind of girl.
Okay.
Yeah, I really loved it. I love Central Park. There's just something special about that place. I saw Art Garfunkel in the park when I was in New York. I met Liza Minnelli and Motley Crue. And I mean, there's just everything's happening in New York. It was,
Yeah, it's
I have a
very
dear
lively here.
I have a dear friend in New York, and he just took me on this, full moon in the park, and we saw Shakespeare in the park. We went to so many concerts, and we don't have that access here in Australia.
Yeah,
Not like that.
yeah,
Not at
there's
your
a lot to
fingertips.
do.
There's a lot to do. Well, welcome, darling. I'm going to make a start, so I'll get you to unmute yourself, and then at the end, I'll get you to turn on your videos, and feel free to ask me any questions. So let's begin. So tonight I'm going to be talking about blood sugar. We've had roughly a theme flowing through the past few live streams. I think it's a big topic, but I wanted to just reinforce, just go over the blood sugar, especially during this festive season. We're going to be talking about stress and your hormones and just navigating the challenges during this time. So welcome everyone. I know that the holiday season, it's normally a time of joy, it's normally a time of celebration and togetherness. But for some, it can bring extra challenges. And with sugar intake, there can be those spikes, especially with disrupted routines and stress. So ultimately, this is going to mess with our hormones and cause fertility problems. So my role here today is to, I guess, bring the importance, and I'm going to use the keyword balance. Balance. I'm going to, talk about the importance of balance and ways to de-stress during the festive season so that, you've got some practical tips that you can navigate the holiday season. So if we look at the hormonal response, when you're stressed, your body releases the hormone cortisol. All right. And then in response to that, we tend to have unhealthy coping mechanisms. And that's especially around comfort foods. Especially during the festive season, we tend to reach for them because they're there, they're sitting there, they're looking at us. All right, those sugary treats, they're just shining like diamonds. And alcohol. All right, let's face it, we often use these clutches, especially in these environments, as coping mechanisms for stress, all of which are going to disrupt the blood sugar. And so how does this all relate to the hormones? So when the blood sugar rises, it triggers a chain reaction involving your insulin. And then the body has to regulate the glucose levels. And if those sugar spikes are frequent, which is often happening during this festive season that's coming up, the body cells can become less sensitive to insulin. So it leads to, some insulin resistance, higher blood sugar levels, and then it's associated with so many things. We've got metabolic syndrome, leaky gut, dysbiosis, your bowels start going in and out. So, constipation, diarrhea, alternating, type 2 diabetes, and then we've got all of our fertility issues. So we'll just do a little recap on how the blood sugar spikes affect your fertility. So first of all, it's going to throw out the hormones. It's just going to create imbalances. So insulin resistance prompts the ovaries to produce more androgens like testosterone, and that can interfere with your ovulation. So I find if things are going to go out of whack, infertility, it's always in the festive season because we become out of routine. So that's why I'm going to talk about this. So don't be surprised if you do have an irregular menstrual cycle. You might have an anovulatory cycle, especially if we're going to hit the sugar and the alcohol and we're going to spike the insulin. So just know that that's what's happening to your hormones. Your estrogen and progesterone balance is going to go out. So we can have irregular, ovulation, just irregular cycles. It can then decrease the progesterone. So then, we're not getting the lining, thick lining or thin lining. There's all these things that can happen when estrogen and progesterone, the ratio is out. We can then have the luteal phase defect. That's when we have a shorter luteal phase. Then we've got PMS and mood swings. So if you're noticing that things are starting to swing a little bit, it's like, let's start to look and address these blood sugar spikes. Now, if you've got PCOS, the insulin resistance is going to exacerbate the symptoms. So, your irregular periods, your ovulation, and the development of more ovarian cysts. But if we look at it, what is sugar? It's inflammation. It's oxidative stress. And that's just not going to be good for our egg quality, is it? No, or our endometrial environment. So it's going to make it harder for that fertilized egg to implant and for the pregnancy to be sustained. So, it's going to also affect the mitochondria, which is essential for healthy egg development. It's going to alter the lining. Like I said, it can become thin or thick, all right, which is crucial for implantation, especially if you're doing an IVF cycle. All right, so miscarriage or risk of miscarriage goes up, especially with high insulin and high glucose levels. There's a high risk of miscarriage. Then we've got even the effects on the sperm. So we've got poor sperm health when it comes to high insulin levels, especially insulin resistant states can lead to, things like lower testosterone, reduced motility, morphology. So this is the morphology is the shape and size of this and structure of the sperm. And it's going to impact the sperm's ability to pierce that granulosa cell, all right, and effectively fertilize the egg. So again, we've got oxidative stress and damage. It's systemic inflammation. So you're going to have the testicles overheating, which is going to affect the morphology. So testicular inflammation, this is quite common. I see this around the festive season. So, it's not just the ladies. It's 50-50 here, all right? And it's going to damage our energy levels, our libido, all right? The imbalances in blood sugar. This leads to fatigue and reduced libido. It makes sense, doesn't it? So some of the tips, we're going to jump straight into the tips because we need to go in hard. So my advice, if you have Crispus nibbles beforehand, you want to try to avoid the crisps and the Doritos, all right? Instead, go for the dips. Go for the dips with those, those vegetable crudité, all right? All those little chopped, or if you're part of the family and you're doing the platters, right? Vegetable crudité. So chop up all of your cucumbers, or your bell peppers, your little carrots, your celery, all those little vegetable crudités, or you can roast them. I find roasting cauliflower florets and, making broccoli popcorn and dipping that in, all right? Because we want to eat the foods that have got the fiber. We also want to eat the foods and try to go for like the sausages or the chicken skewers because the proteins and the fiber, they're going to help reduce your appetite. It makes sense. And if you're prone to raised sugars, you can still have a generously filled plate, by adding plenty of turkey, plenty of fowl, meat, or veggie equivalent if you're a vegetarian or vegan, all right? But we want to try and cut back on the starchy veg. So this is your potatoes and your parsnips. They rapidly convert to sugars and they're going to just give you that spike. So just remember that the protein and the natural fat beforehand tend to lessen the sugar surge. All right, when it comes to the sweet stuff, don't indulge on an empty stomach. I think that's the biggest takeaway. So if you're going into a party, make sure you've had breakfast beforehand, or if you know what your day is, plan ahead, consume a good breakfast within 90 minutes of eating, and you want to have it protein rich. So breakfast and then supersize your lunch, so that way you're going in, you're steady, everything's stable, and you're not then going to binge on the sugar. All right, so just try not to indulge on an empty stomach with the sugar. That's the biggest takeaway. Now, my biggest secret for the festive season, if you've all heard of those little hip flasks, all right, that you put alcohol in, well, we're going to remove the alcohol and we're going to replace it with apple cider vinegar. Now, I have all my patients doing the morning ritual. We talk about this. I talk about this on every live stream, but your morning ritual, when you first wake up in the morning, it's going to set your blood sugar right, and it's going to get your digestive enzymes right. And so it's just a standard 6-ounce glass of water. And we're adding in 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. But in this little hip flask that you're going to take to your parties and your functions, all right, so you put it in your purse, and that way you can just have your little 2 swigs of your 2 apple cider vinegar in about 1/3 of a cup of water. All right, have a little swig. If it's palatable, just shoot it. But I find it's a little bit too much. The acetic acid is a little bit much for me to just do it straight. I like to dilute it. But if you can do this at any function that you're going to, any gathering, right, what it does is it works on the acetic acid. It slows down the rate at which your digestive enzymes break down the sugars into starches and glucose. So doing this before you have a little snack or a nibble, all right, it's going to reduce the glucose spike by 30% and the insulin spike by 20%. So I guess that's my biggest tool for you guys going into the festive season is a little hip flask. All right. Now, if you don't have a hip flask, clearly just take a little glass bottle with your apple cider vinegar and take it with you in a bag. But I just love the whole concept of a little hip flask, because everyone thinks oh, she's having a little bit of alcohol. So you're just kind of going with the flow and pretending. And that way, you could even have sparkling water with, a dash of apple cider vinegar. And people think you're having a swig of alcohol, right? So that's my little trick for fertility. All right. It's going to help your energy. It's going to reduce inflammation. It's going to balance your hormones, and it's going to help your brain and your liver. Just ask your liver. All right. So take the hip flask to all your events. Like I said, the breakfast is just going to be the staple going into this period. All right. It's just going to safeguard your blood sugar. Lunch, it's going to be the biggest meal of the day. When you're off, that's how we're going to structure it. So we plan to win, not plan to fail. We plan to win. So breakfast is done within 90 minutes of waking, and it's got a good source of protein in that. You want to supersize the lunch. So that's going to be your biggest meal of the day. Make sure you've got all your macros, protein, carbs, fats, just good fats like avocados. Make sure you've got some black beans, some really nice carb fiber, and then a good generous helping of protein. And then all the glutathione foods, which I love, because glutathione heavy vegetables like carrots, like broccoli, like spinach, asparagus, you drizzle that with a bit of olive oil. Glutathione is an antioxidant that detoxifies the liver. So that's why we want to look at glutathione things, right? We want to protect your liver going into the festive season. We're going to also prioritize regular meals, every 3 to 4 hours. I try 3 to 4, but a girth of 3 to 5 hours. We want to eat every 3 to 5 hours to keep the blood sugar levels stable. We want to avoid going long periods without eating, because then you're going to snack and you're going to be tempted. It's just normal. We are just human. All right. So set ourselves up to win. And outside of the celebrations, we want to focus on meals high in protein, fiber, fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. So we're getting that whole gamut, and rainbow, lots of color. All right. Pair sweets with other foods. This is important. The more food in your stomach, the slower it'll hit the bloodstream. So whenever possible time, the sweets, so they come at the end of the meal. Don't have things sitting there so you can go and pick. If you're like my husband, he's a grazer. Don't put anything out because he'll graze on it. All right. So keep all the sugar things off the table until you've actually served the mains and served the dips and things like that. When you do have a sugar craving, now let's reach for the kind of sweeteners that don't cause too much disruption. And I find like a little teaspoon of honey, like you can actually suck on that like a lollipop. All right, now it could be coconut nectar, it could be blackstrap molasses. These things don't create too much of an insulin spike, but we've also got the natural sweeteners like monk fruit and stevia. Okay, so, go prepared. Know that those things are around you, and eat lots of fiber. Like, I think that's a big thing. We want clearance because that's how we clear. We clear everything with fiber, and we often don't get enough fiber in our diets. Now, this will also help create more of the FGF21 hormone. This prevents the sugar cravings and will detoxify your body of excess estrogen. So this hormone, it has the delightful name of the FGF21, the fibroblast growth factor 21, and it sends signals to the brain to suppress the hankerings for the sweet stuff. So the more fiber you eat, it's going to help create that FG21 hormone and prevent the sugar cravings. So lots of fiber. Okay, don't be afraid of fiber. And if you're not going to the bathroom, all right, if things are backing up, then use your acai fiber, or you can use some psyllium husk. But it's all about making smart food choices. I think that's the takeaway. It's tempting to indulge in the holiday treats, but just use your awareness. Pause, practice the pause. So you can go, that looks beautiful, but I'm going to pause before I dip my fingers in. Try to look at everything that's in front of you and think, where's the healthier option here? And if you're looking at, all right, okay, try and get a small plate. So like, the smaller the plate, the less you'll put on the plate. So don't go for the big plates, go for the smaller plates, smaller, portion sizing. All right. So we want to just find that, fill the plate with more lean proteins and vegetables is a big secret. But yeah, portion control. I mean, if you think of your stomach, it's like your two fists. All right. So we don't want to overeat that. So how often do you go to an event and you have eaten 4 times this? So, just remember this is the size of your stomach, and you can portion control that. So you can still eat your holiday foods in moderation, but just go smaller versions of it. All right. I think if you are going to be a bit piggy-wiggy and you are going in for the temptation and you know that you've indulged, well, then I want you to actually increase the dose of self-love. We don't want guilt or shame in this fertility process. There's no shaming and there's no guilt. Overindulging sometimes it's just so good. I get it. So after that, all right, give yourself a little melting hug. I'm feeling really full. I'm going to explode. Let's have some physical activity. Off you go for a walk. Now it can be around the block, a 5K walk, a 10K walk. Go for a walk, even a short walk. It doesn't matter. Time on feet. It's going to help regulate the blood sugar levels. And the more your legs work, it helps the metabolism metabolize what's in the gut. So I want exercise to be a really big part of your holiday plans where possible. And then it's the liquid calories. I'm going to have to talk about these because I need to bell the cat, we call it. These are the old terms back in the day, bell the cat. I know all of you are probably wanting to have a glass of wine over the festive season. Well, I'm a negotiator. If you're going to have one, nominate it. One, have that one glass, and that's it. And then be at peace with that, because it's not going to spike things too quickly. And then if you can, have some water afterwards. All right. But just know that if you're going to be consuming those liquid calories, they tend to start adding up and they start going around that waistline. And, it just starts to then mess with our estrogen and our other hormones and increases our appetite and disrupts our blood sugar and increases our cravings for carbs and sugary foods. Wine is the temptation. Just practice the pause, and where you can say no or just nominate that one glass. You know, have one. If you really want to have that wine with that beautiful roast, I get it. I understand the wine thing. But we just need to know that the liver's always going to prioritize and break down the alcohol first. It's always going to do that, right? And then it deals with the sugar and the fat. Okay, so if we look at alcohol, it's going to disrupt the sleep. It's going to lead to bloating, water retention. I mean, if we can just practice the power of no, then let's all try and step in that together. Cinnamon's a good thing. I think try and carry a little cinnamon with you wherever you go, right? So we've got the hip flask and we've got the cinnamon. All the single ladies. All right, so hip flask, cinnamon. All right, because cinnamon's going to lower the blood sugar levels and improve insulin sensitivity. So, you know, you can sprinkle cinnamon on things. All right, so give that a go. The main thing is, in this festive season, we want to stay hydrated. I think most of us, we're out of routine. We tend to forget. Now, thirst can often be mistaken for hunger, all right? And it can lead to unnecessary snacking. So this is another little pattern interrupt. It's like, all right, we're going to have a glass of water before we hit the cupcakes, all right? And then it's communication. You know, be accountable, talk to your partner. If you've got a sugar tooth, just get your partner to say no, get them to say no for you, you know. So you can nominate a partner, you can nominate a friend, but, you know, trust people to look after you, right? Not a lot of people might know that you're even trying to conceive or on this fertility journey. So what we want to do is nominate someone in the family that can inform people. She doesn't want to talk about things, like know where you're at, where your boundaries are. So I think it's good to have that one person that can advocate for you, or your partner can advocate for you, that you don't want to have any conversation regarding your trying to conceive, your fertility journey, your IVF protocol. It's just off limits. You know, I think if you go into it, then it's like you're not going to get triggered. And then we're not going to reach for sugar. Yeah. Okay, so we talked a lot about supplements. I'm going to just brief over some things that you could maybe take with you, all right, to these events, all right, to manage your stress and your blood sugar. I really love chromium for blood sugar regulation. It enhances the insulin sensitivity. It's beneficial for stabilizing the blood sugar levels, and it's especially good with those carb-heavy, you know, holiday meals. So I usually supplement around 200 to 400 micrograms per day and do it, you know, with breakfast and with dinner. There we go, chromium. That could be one thing you get for this festive season. Now, if you've got type 2 diabetes, if you've got insulin resistance, you can take more. You can take up to 1,000 micrograms a day. So then I might dose it at 500 micrograms twice a day. You know, it's going to support the glucose metabolism. It can reduce the sugar cravings. I just think chromium's a good one. It also helps those sugar dips, and that can lead to fatigue and irritability. So chromium's in. Magnesium, I think magnesium, if you don't have magnesium going into the festive season, we need it for your support. We need it for your stress, and we need it for your sleep. Magnesium is a calming effect, but it also supports the nervous system. It plays a role in insulin sensitivity and helping maintain the steady blood sugar levels. So I would be getting the magnesium glycinate. It's the most absorbable, or the magnesium citrate or citrate, which can be easier on the stomach and effective if you've got, you know, constipation. All right. But going into this season, magnesium is like number 2, if not number 1. All right, but chromium and magnesium are like my top two. All right, top 2. But look at some adaptogens. You could look at ashwagandha. All right, I find this great, especially if you're really stressed out. Okay, it can support the mood and energy levels. It can reduce the cravings and stabilize the blood sugar. Clearly, complex B vitamins. We want this for energy and stress support. So have them there, right, on standby. And you might need these in addition to your PreConception multi. All right, so we want to, extra supplementation of the B vitamins. So a good high quality B complex will cover the range of B vitamins, but we want, your B6, particularly your B12, because that plays a significant role in energy production and mood. But, the B6 is great for hormonal balance and supporting progesterone production and reducing those PMS symptoms. So yeah, a B complex is definitely a winner. Omega-3, so your fish oils, this is great for the mood, great for inflammation, great if you have had that glass of wine. It's great for your overall hormonal balance. But I just find it's great for reducing that holiday stress. And it's just decreases inflammation. Vitamin D, now you're going into the cold winter, so we want mood and immune support. So vitamin D, I know most of you are supplementing that with your fertility protocols, but we want to have maybe some extra support. So if you're on 2000 IU, I would be upping the dose to 5000 IU, because we need to look after our immune system, and we need a balanced mood to support the immune system. We also need the vitamin D for hormone production and for estrogen and progesterone, but stabilizing that blood sugar, all right, with the mood. Lastly, I'll talk about probiotics, because I think this one's a big topic, because probiotics, not only do they support the digestion and nutrient absorption, but if you've been having some foods that aren't sitting well, you're getting that extra bloat, all right, so start to think of your gut health, all right, because that microbiome is central to all of our hormones. It's your estrobolome. So we want to use the probiotics, and you can use the probiotics with 40 CFUs, or you can use probiotic rich food. Your sauerkraut, your kimchi, your kefir, your coconut yogurt, your miso, your beet kvass, all of these foods, we want that to be enhancing. All right, it combats that holiday stress. It boosts resilience by keeping the gut environment balanced, and it's just going to support that immune system. We also love it for, cravings control. Like probiotics are great for curbing sugar cravings. So if you haven't got your probiotics ready, or haven't got them in the fridge ready to go, that could be the thing on the shopping list this week. It's also going to balance the mood. But after an indulgence, if you've had a big indulgence, then, I would superdose your probiotic and do 1-3 times a day. So if you're doing one a day, you can do 1-3 times a day. So you can actually increase the dose. You can do it with or without food. The main takeaway when we are doing probiotics is we don't have them with hot drinks, because it denatures the probiotic. That's the biggest takeaway with probiotics. But, manage your stress. Like find healthy ways to manage stress. Now, it could be deep breathing. I love the take 5 breathing. I've been teaching this all week. Take 5, take 5, take 5, take 5. And what I mean by that, it's like giving yourself a 5-minute break, like a timeout, because sometimes we get triggered. Someone said something, someone's behaved badly, or, there's been lots of triggers. So take 5 and remember this. So you separate yourself and you do some box breathing. Inhale for 5, hold for 5, exhale for 5, hold for 5, inhale for 5, hold for 5, exhale for 5, hold for 5. All right, it's 5 times. Now, if you could do that, so just 5 times, not for 5 minutes, but 5 times before you eat each meal or before you go to each function, you're going to have such an effect on your nervous system and your blood sugar that you're going to decrease all these spikes. So the take 5, remember that one. Take 5 for 5 minutes, or just 5 rounds, all right, before meals. But find the healthy ways to manage stress, because it's important. We want to do the deep breathing. We want to go for the walks. And my ultra detox bath, I've been loving this. If you haven't done the ultra detox bath, this is the recipe. 2 cups of Epsom salts, half a cup of baking soda, 10 drops of essential oil, which I love lavender. I also love geranium. Jessica knows how much I love geranium. But yeah, it's just to lower the cortisol. Soak for 20 minutes in a tepid bath up to your neck. All right, like Ophelia. I don't know if you know that picture of Ophelia in the lake, but you want to soak all the way up to your neck. So your head is the only thing that's immersed, all right, is above the water. And, you know, the ultra detox bath, you can do it daily in this festive season. And it's a game changer. Trust me on this one. Last thing I want to share with you is the benefits of the legs up the wall, because this is another de-stress, you know, helps to manage our blood sugar, calm our nervous system. And it's like your legs are elevated. You're in an L shape, all right? So it's 90 degrees. Your legs are up the wall, buttocks towards the wall, and then your torso is on the floor. So you're in an L shape. You can put a pillow underneath your buttock and one under the head. But then I often will get my patients to, you know, use an eye pillow over the eyes, surrender the eyes. When you pacify the mind, it calms the nervous system. When you pacify the eyes, you withdraw in. All right, it's going to retreat you, especially if there's stress and anxiety. I love this. So it creates that sense of calm. It's one of my favorite yoga poses. It balances the hormones, especially when you've got that. If you're waking up anxious, this is your go-to pose, all right? Okay, because it supports the adrenals. It supports the balanced hormones. It supports the cortisol, all right, whether it's high or low, okay? It's going to help with the circadian rhythm. So if you're having trouble sleeping after some indulgence, then what are you going to do? You're going to do legs up the wall before going to bed, about 10 to 15 minutes. And, you know, it's these inversions. You know, in yoga, it improves the blood flow to the abdominal organs. It makes sense. And that includes the pancreas, which can help with the blood sugar regulation and insulin sensitivity. So this pose is going to reduce those insulin spikes. So just make sure you're in that L shape. If your knees and your legs are tight, if you've got tight hamstrings, you can slightly bend the knees, or you can actually go into simple cross legs, all right? Or in Baddha Konasana, where the soles of the feet are touching like this in the pose. But we want to be in the pose, be in it. Like if your mind's racing, put the eye pillow on and then do your lower breathing, or you can do your box breathing, your 5 by 5 by 5. All right. Try that for 5 minutes. And then the rest of the minutes, the 10 minutes of rest, then you can just inward reflection and focus then just on lower diaphragmatic belly breathing. But give that one a go. It's my big takeaway. The thing with boundaries too, I want to talk a little bit about boundaries, because boundaries are a thing. People can often cross them. So I want you to not overcommit, avoid overcommitting, and set realistic boundaries for yourself. Know what's coming up, and know if it's a no, then don't go. The power of no. Find your no comfort zone. Simply just saying no thank you, or I'll pass on that. Maybe can I think about it? Like if you're undecided, I'll think about it and I'll get back to you. Or I'll pass on the sugar. Like just make it a sliding statement. You know, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to explain yourself to anybody. Just know that the occasional indulgence is okay. I think that's the takeaway. We tend to beat ourselves up so much. And no guilt, no shame, no blame in this festive season. We want to increase the dose of love, all right? Loving kindness. So the key is just to get back on track the next day, or go for a walk, or, you know, all these strategies that I've given you. It doesn't have to be a source of stress on this fertility journey. It's just about some careful planning, some mindful choices, and then you can enjoy the festivities while maintaining good blood glucose management and maintaining your fertility. So let's open up the Q&A. Who would like to ask me a question? Jamie, do you have a question for me?
Sure.
How are you?
I'm just on my phone today. My internet's not working.
So nice to see you.
I'll just pick it up because I know you can't see me properly.
Yeah.
I was trying to write down what you said, the chromium. What exactly is that?
Yeah, it's a supplement for blood sugar. Yeah.
The blood sugar? Okay.
Yeah, it's a great one. Going into it, like if you can source some chromium, it works on your blood sugar regulation.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a supplement that's beneficial for stabilizing those blood sugar levels.
And then what did you say to do with it?
So you take it morning and night, so with breakfast and dinner, about 200 micrograms, 200 to 400.
Okay. Is it a powder or a
It can
capsule?
it can come in both. It usually comes, like I actually have it compounded. So I like to dose it myself because that's what I do. Like I like to use and dose it depending on what I think I need. So I usually do 200 micrograms and I have a little
Okay.
scoop and I just put it in some water and drink it. And I have it with a meal. But it can often come in capsules. It can come in a powder form. Comes lots of different ways. Sometimes it can already come compressed. So then you can go, right, I'll just take one tablet with meal.
Okay. You take
It's
it before the meal, right?
with the meal, with the meal.
Oh, like actually with it. Okay.
Take it with the
Sounds
meal.
like an idea
I
to
reckon.
try.
Yeah. Yeah. Now what you could do is
Yeah.
maybe increase the dose. So you could go a little bit more, like, you know, you could do 400 micrograms twice a day. I'd recommend for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I
The
might give it a
maximum,
try.
give it a try. The maximum dose, I tend to just keep it under 1,000. Keep it under 1,000 micrograms
Per
mcg
day.
per day.
Okay.
And I split dose it that way, right, for better absorption.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay.
That's
Thank
That's
you.
something that you can get in the store.
Yeah, you can get, like,
Or
it's one of those supplements that's everywhere. Like I often find it in supermarkets. It's just
oh, okay.
no one talks about it, but it's just this little gem. It's a little gem going to the festive season. So if you know that you've got some big functions on, take it with you. Take it with your apple cider vinegar in your flask. Yeah. Jessica, do you have a question for me?
I think I'm okay.
Okay, that's great. What was your takeaway from today? What's your share?
My share was that it's okay to have that little bit of sugar and not to feel guilty about it.
Good. I think that's great.
And the
Yeah.
chromium, that will help a ton too, especially, you know, if you're stress eating or, you know, having, well, the stress desserts, I guess you can say.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No blame, no shame here. Only love. I love it. Simone, do you have any shares or do you have any questions for me, my beauty?
I think earlier you said to take in your bag like a shot glass
Yeah.
or
A hip
with a
flask.
cinnamon.
Oh,
But
yes.
the cinnamon is you'd put that in water?
Yeah. You can put it in or sprinkle on food. You can put it on your own.
Oh,
Yeah. It's a spice.
oh, sh-
You can get it in the section where you've got all your aromatic spices, all your herbs and spices.
I know, yeah, I know the cinnamon, but I just wanted to know what that does. What were you recommending it to for
Well, you can put it in
to
your
do?
food. You can put it in water. You can add it into your lemon drink in the morning, first thing in the morning, a sprinkle of it. If you're drinking cacao, like I'll do a pinch of cinnamon in my cacao, in my warm brew. If I'm having
What
some,
was it for?
it's for regulating your blood sugar.
Oh, that's for regulating blood sugar too? Okay.
Yeah. Same as the apple cider
Mm,
vinegar. That's same as the shot before a meal. They're two
mm,
little takeaways for this festive season.
mm.
Absolutely brilliant. Yeah. And you know, it's so cheap, a couple of dollars for a little bowl, like a glass container of the cinnamon. Fantastic. You can just pop it in your purse and take it with you.
Mhm.
Any takeaways that you've learned? What's been your greatest takeaway from today?
Oh, well, the suggestion about not eating sweets on an empty stomach. So
There we go.
that's good to know.
It's good to know. It's all about learning, elevating our knowledge. Because then when you're at these parties, you can have these conversations. Do you know about these sugar spikes? And people might see you doing your little shot and you might be having it with your sparkling water and you can say, well, you should try this. It helps the digestive enzymes, reduces your sugar spike by up to 30%, your insulin spike by up to 20%. Yeah, you can be an advocate for this information.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other questions? Jamie, any other questions that you may have? Yeah, go for it.
Apple cider vinegar. I tried having it before. It's so strong. I don't know.
Dilute it. Yeah, I find the acetic acid. It's very hard for me to actually have like straight. So dilute it in some water.
Yeah, even in water, like when you take it, it's like you feel like you're choking on it.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you're not used to it, I often will get my patients to titrate down. So
Okay.
start with half a teaspoon or a quarter of a teaspoon, and then go up. And each day you go up like another quarter of a teaspoon or half a teaspoon until you get to a tablespoon.
Okay.
So if you're really struggling with two, just back it off. Back it off. Just have some lemon instead and just do a quarter of a teaspoon or half a teaspoon.
Okay. How much water do you use? 1 cup or
Yeah, about
less?
6 ounces, 250 mils. 6
Okay.
ounces glass. Yeah. If you're
Okay.
doing a little shot before meals, like this little glass, can you see this little glass?
Yeah.
It's about
Yeah.
third of a cup
Oh,
with your shot. And then there you go.
that's
Before
going to
you
be hard. I'll have to work up to that.
work up to it. But it works. Like ladies.
Yeah, sounds good. I
Yeah.
like these tips. Thank you.
Little tips. Yeah. So, ladies, thank you for joining me this evening. It's a big topic because we do tend to reach for sugar. We do have extra challenges with sugar intake during the festive season, but I want you to go into it with awareness and with knowledge and self-compassion and self-care. So you've got this, ladies. I'll see you next week. Sweet good night.
Okay.
Thank you.
Take care.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.